Sagar Kaushik, Chief Operating Officer, UPL, Mr. Vinay Kumar, Regional Director for Asia and Global Initiatives, Digital Green, and Mr. Wouter Verhey, Agriculture Councillor for India and Sri Lanka, Embassy of Kingdom of Netherlands, to kindly join us on the dais. So, ladies and gentlemen, the theme for this plenary session is Pace of Changing Climate and Mankind's Endurance Impact on Agriculture in the Past, Present and the Future. And the time duration is 30 minutes. May I once again request everybody to kindly be seated as soon as possible as I introduce the eminent panel. The moderator and chair for the plenary session, Dr. Narendra Singh Rathore, is Deputy Director General Education at Indian Agriculture Statistics Research Institute, ICAR, New Delhi. Previously worked in the capacity of a Vice Chancellor at College of Technology and Engineering, SKNA University. He is a specialist in renewable energy in agriculture, post-harvest technology, and food processing with a rich global learning experience. Dr. Anthony is a Research Program Director for Innovation Systems for the Drylands, ISD, International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, ICRISAT. Dr. Anthony's expertise covers agronomy and soil science, farm systems analysis, crop modeling, climate risk management, spatial analysis, and he has published widely with more than 65 journal articles, H-index of 22, and citations exceeding 2,600. Dr. Patrick is an agriculture engineer, food security consultant, and project manager with more than 12 years of expertise in providing sustainable agriculture engineering solutions. And he currently serves as an academic associate and program director at the McGill University of Global Food Security. Mr. Sagar Kaushik is Chief Operating Officer, UPL, is an MBA with more than 35 years of experience in the agrochemical agribusiness industry, rice development, including post-harvest technologies. Mr. Vinay Kumar is Regional Director, Asia and Global Initiatives at Digital Green, has over 35 years of experience in the public, private, and non-profit sectors, having implemented on-the-ground projects in more than 20 countries. Mr. Wouter is Agriculture Councillor of the Netherlands for India and Sri Lanka, has taken a number of initiatives in increasing bilateral cooperation among India and Dutch companies in the agriculture sectors. With those words of introduction, I hand over to our chairperson, Dr. Narendra Singh Rathore, to kindly carry over the proceedings of this plenary session. May I once again remind you, sir, the time duration is only 30 minutes. Over to you.
So our first technical session we are going to start. At the outside, I would like to welcome all of you, and those who are standing, I would like to urge to all of you, kindly occupy your seats so that the deliberation will be more. And at initial inception itself, the organizers has given a time period is only 30 minutes. So I afraid that how we will complete, because a lot of deliverables points they have listed, and they mentioned that how far is the technology smart. Climate smart agriculture is there, so that we will have to deliberate. Same thing we will have to deliberate what are the factors which are limiting the different technology to further scale up or to expedite the work related to mitigating the climate change. Same thing is that we are supposed to discuss some of the technology which are enhancing farmers' income. And here I would like to mention that as far as the government of India is concerned, our motto as far as the ICR is concerned, our motto is for production, productivity and profitability in a scenario of when we are having a lot of changes as far as our climate is concerned. And it is not so supportive as far as things are concerned. But fortunately this year we have got a lot of good production. And here I would like to mention those who are not aware that as far as the grain production is concerned, we have crossed 276 million ton production, and that was a remarkable. Same thing is true with the fruits and vegetable and horticulture production. We have crossed 300 million tons. And as far as the milk production is concerned, it is 160 million ton, and we stand on the first position. But you must be knowing that the government of India has given a targeted type of a things, and we are supposed to enhance the income of a farmer to a double level by 2021. And we have got a lot of constraint as far as the climate is concerned. It is not in supportive. But we made an exercise that by 2021 we are supposed to have at least of 325 million tons of grain production. So from 276 to 325 million tons we will have to produce. Same thing is true with the milk production. From 160 to 210 million tons we will have to produce. And same thing is true with our horticulture production, which is at present is 300 million tons. We are supposed to increase to 375 million tons. I am more concerned about our India, and that's why I have given some of the statistics. I would like to urge to all our panelists, those who are sitting on this particular session. This session is really dedicated to a main cause of this conference, and here we are supposed to discuss that what are the different technology which are available and how we can articulate this technology in present context. And very important thing is that I was witness of the inauguration session. Things are discussed in a different way. Here I would like to mention that a lot of things are already available, and as far as the tradition is concerned, India is really a pioneer as far as the traditional technology for mitigation of climate change is concerned. We are also having a lot of a good technology which are indigenously suitable to our climate, and we are doing, and even we are open to have some international and some other technology which are simple in operation, and which we can say that which can easily be adopted. As far as the knowledge is concerned, knowledge means what to do. Everybody knows that what to do, especially in the changing climate situation. But important thing is that a type of skill is required, and that type of skill we need to articulate in our farmers. In our country, we have got more than 14 crore farmers are there, and now the question is that how to how to do the things, and especially how to increase the production in a scenario of our climate change. That is an important thing. But at the same time, I would like to urge to all our panelists sitting in this that not only the knowledge and skill is important for this particular task, but at the same time a type of ability and type of experience is also important. So I would like to request to all of you that kindly concentrate your talk that how we can have a different type of ability, how to simplify the process of all problem, and at the same time how to reduce our losses and how to increase the efficiency of our different agriculture operation, and how to have a maximum production. That should be our the point of discussion. Although more deliberation has been given, I would not take much more of the time. But once again, I would like to request, because the organizers has given this 30 minutes, so we are total 6 persons are there. So kindly give the main points related to our theme, limited to 5 minutes. So at the initial inception, I would like to request to Dr. Anthony, and who is a research program director. Dr. Anthony, please, would you like to throw some light on this issue?
Thank you very much. I'm coming from ICRISAT, which is focused mainly on the semi-arid tropics. So a lot of my comments are around rain-fed systems in these semi-arid tropics. Now these systems, these climates are already highly variable. Historically they've been variable, so farmers have always had to manage these issues of climate. Highly variable rainfall, high temperatures, long periods of drought. So much of the farming systems in the past were built around trying to manage resilience. And I think what's happened in the last maybe 50 years is that many of the traditional knowledges that we had and many of the crops that we used have changed, and our demands for productivity are much higher. So we're putting farmers are putting themselves at a much higher level of risk. So they're trying to earn better returns from the agriculture that they're farming. Many of the technologies are inherently climate smart, but and there's many examples of the cereals from the drylands, millets, sorghums, from the legumes, the pulse crops, and there's many practices that ICAR and CREDA and ICRISAT have developed that are relevant for resource-poor smallholder farming. But as we heard this morning, Mr. Singhal mentioned that markets are driving how land use is planned and how farms are designed. And so markets often drive the adoption of and deployment of technology. And it's often that these technologies aren't climate smart in the environment where they're deployed. You can think of examples such as maize, cotton, paddy rice in many areas in the state that I live in Telangana, in areas that are very, very vulnerable. And this puts the farming system and the farmers under stress when the climate changes or when the climate is highly inherently variable. The challenge is, how do we adjust these markets and bring in other crops and other farming systems and other commodities that also have attractive markets like cotton or maize. And so that requires multiple interventions. It requires more sensible policies, so not concentrating and not putting policies just on wheat and rice, but also trying to promote pulses and more resilient crops. These policies are there, but they need implementation. There has to be infrastructure development to create incentives for farmers to take to move towards commodities that are more resilient. So these require substantial government investment to bring commodities and infrastructure into those areas. And it also needs much greater co-planning and co-design and integration with farmers. So farmers understand, I think, resilience, but they need to be much more supported in helping us change the behaviour of farmers and consumers. And finally, there's a lot of need for much more research on water use sufficient practices, on bringing genetic gain to our dryland crops, on some of these radical physiological pathways that I think one of our speakers talked about this morning, actually changing our crops from a C4 to a C3 or a CAM. But these things are blue sky kind of research. And finally, the last comment would be a lot about climate risk management. There's many technologies to help farmers and deliver information directly to farmers that's location specific, that's specific to their farm and is relevant to the crops and the enterprises that you're using. And digital agriculture is one of these fantastic technologies that is going to bring great innovation in this area of climate risk management. So there's a couple of comments.
Thank you. We have got Dr. Patrick.
Morning. My name is Patrick Corbawi. I'm coming from McGill University in Canada. I'm the researcher and coming from an academia perspective. I have some comments concerning the climate smart agriculture, and the topic of today is very, very interesting, and it's a hot topic even at McGill nowadays. We cannot just develop technologies, but no end users can use that in a more efficient way. We all know that we live in a finite planet where we have finite resources in terms of water, soil, energy. So we cannot just copy and paste what happened in the past for the future, because we're just simply offering a recipe of failure for the future generations to come. The main problem, I guess, in CSA is not institutional. No, the main problem is institutional, is not technological. So there is a complete disconnect nowadays, from my own opinion, between the organizations involved in technology development, could be universities, could be private sector, and the end users. In my capacity as a program director at the McGill Institute for Global Food Security, when we submit a proposal for the donor upon a call to invest or to work in food security, the first thing we do when we go to do the design workshop, a major piece of the stakeholder is missing, who is the farmer. We all sit on a round table like NGOs, government, academia, and country offices, but I never seen a community of farmers or farmers representatives sitting with us during the design phase of the proposal or the project. So that, for me, it's a huge gap, because we don't listen to them, we don't hear from them, and those are our beneficiaries. So if we're gonna develop technologies, we need to develop it for them. So nowadays at McGill, I can assure you that we kind of have a paradigm shift in our research. We are more investing in research that is called applied research. So we go to the country, we ask what the needs, and we fulfill the gaps, and we come back to Canada to develop this technology, and then we go back again to the to the community, to the farmers, to train them, to increase their capacity building, and to learn even from them, because they are the one that's going to use it at the end. So I'm not going to take much of your time. I have one maybe last comment, that the CSA, Climate Smart Agriculture, will only succeed in delivering its promised benefits to smallholders if inclusive institutions are in place to support such innovations. When I say institutions, I mean could be from state, could be market institution, could be local level, like cooperatives, and customary institutions that influence smallholder farmers' decision about how to use and manage their resources in a more efficient way. Those local level institutions, I rely on them because I've been seeing in Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, and now in Asia, that they can play a major role in enabling smallholders to transform coping capacity into adaptive capacity. So my final comment will be that 4 key institutional functions we need if we need to succeed or to promote CSA. The first one is to provide information about changing climate conditions as well as possible responses. Second, to foster innovation, to develop and to disseminate new practices and knowledge. Third, encourage investment in physical infrastructure and learning new ways of coping strategies and adopting technologies. And the final function will be to provide insurance to cope with risk due to climate shocks and the risk of adopting new practices. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have got Mr. Sagar Kaushik.
Well, I come from the private sector, which is the company UPL. We are in the space of producing agrochemicals, seeds, and especially some of the post-harvest technologies. And that is where I would really like to relate the value of the post-harvest losses in terms of making the whole agriculture system climate smart. If you take the whole agriculture and the food system, so we have the production system, and then we have the processing system for food, and then comes the distribution, marketing, exports, etc. And obviously the focus so far, at least in our country, has been more into the production systems. So how to increase the productivity, how to make better inputs, etc., varieties, high-yielding varieties. That has been the focus for the last decades. And I think the public sector research made huge contribution, and we have been successful. We are still able to, convert from food shortage to the food plenty, and that also becomes sort of a challenge. Now, do we have some technology do the farmers having the technology today to deal with it? Answer is yes. With the available systems, one could also manage. I give example of rice. Perhaps most of you are aware that the total volume of the fresh water, from the total water available in the world, fresh water is only 1%. And that is what really we use. And from this 1%, 70% goes for agriculture. And there is a significant part of it in our country that goes just for rice. Rice consumes perhaps 80% of the water than the rest of the crops. Now, what is available to the farmers today? We have the transplanted rice cultivation. That actually guzzles the water. But at the same time, there are technologies available for the direct seeded rice. In the direct seeded rice, if the farmer take the practice, they can reduce the consumption of water by almost 70%. But then, to get this going, and farmers are cultivating already the direct seeded rice. I am not saying that the breakthrough has not happened, but it has not happened to the extent that it is required. Just to talk about the big picture, we produce 105 million tons of rice from 42 million hectare. Dr. Dalwai, I don't know whether he is here, but he also mentioned about this rice. And I believe that instead of 42 million hectare, we can produce same 105 million tons of rice from 30 million hectares of rice crop. So we can actually free 10 million hectare of land for perhaps doing nothing, and at least the impact on the climate you could conserve, or you could do the alternate crops. Now the question, some of you may be thinking sociologically that farmers are cultivating it for their own consumption, but that is more in south and the more southern states that farmer has to cultivate rice for their own captive needs. But if you go to Punjab, and Mr. Dalwai talked about the crop symmetry or asymmetries which are existing, yes, I think we should see that in the next 10 years, Punjab perhaps could be known more for horticulture and less for rice, because Punjabi farmers are not eating rice. It's not that they are subsistence crops, etc. and all. So therefore, a big change can happen that increase the productivity of rice and reduce the area and free that 10 million hectare and create, the forest where the tree farming could take place for the, fruits, vegetables, etc. So I think the technologies are available, and to bring this change also requires a little bit more implementation plan. The other subject in terms of increasing the productivity is the hybrid rice. Hybrid rice, if you compare between China and India, 50% of the total area in China is hybrid rice. In our country, it is less than 5%. So, which means that there are tools available in terms of technologies to increase the productivity and free certain land and use for something which is much more climate smart compatible. So that's one area. The second area I would like to highlight is in relation to the post-harvest losses. So again, the big picture, the total losses in the world for post-harvest are in terms of about 1 billion plus tons of food is wasted every year. And if we are able to save just 25% of it, we can feed 800 million people. So let us look also from the food security and nutritional security standpoint. Now, India also is a big example. I think our food losses in India are also not small. So whether you take the grains or especially the perishable goods or perishable commodities, there are huge losses which are taking place. So therefore, and there are technologies which are available by which you could manage this, and I give example of potato. In potatoes in India, we know that we have the sprouting which takes place. And the harvesting of potato takes place in the month of March and April. So almost 95% of potato is harvested just in 1.5 months. So there is a glut, farmers have to sell, and all the post-harvest related challenges come. So, but the technologies are available that you could store potatoes for almost 10 months. And we have the technology. In the cold storages, you had to keep the potato for 2 degrees without the use of the technology. But if you use the technologies which we have by fumigating in a proper way, you could raise the temperature of the cold storage from 2 degrees to 12 to 15 degrees. So you require less energy. So already 1,000 cold storages we are able to service. Now there are remaining 2,000 which we cannot service, because for that you need to change the variety. You go to Bihar, you go to eastern part of UP, the potato varieties have a lot of water, but they are not good for storing because it will become ice and then you can't. So what is required is, and we have the technology available for the varieties. I think some companies are sitting here, and I know that the good technologies, Netherlands colleagues are also friends here. There are good technologies available. So you need to change the varieties, and that will enable the post-harvest application of potato, and then you are able to save the entire, this 40 million tons of potato we are producing in our country. So you could make a significant contribution and it brings back the income to the farmers. If you save the post-harvest losses, 12% of it as a part of the income will go back to the farmer. This is how this whole value chain actually functions. So I think there are technologies available. We need to do little bit more in terms of bringing the value chain partners together and helping that somehow these technologies are much more adopted at the local level, and at an accelerated pace these technologies are taking place. I am talking about the technologies which already exist and we can take benefit out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now our next panelist is Mr. Vinay Kumar ji.
Thank you very much. I'm aware of the time limit, so I'll restrict myself to just making a few remarks. I'm from Digital Green. It's a non-profit organization that works across the globe in basically lifting the smallholder farmer out of poverty by using technology. We use information technology to basically bring a better deal for the smallholder farmer. So our focus is on smallholder farmer, and we use different kinds of information technology. When looking at, so we partner with different research organizations. We're working with ICRISAT, with ERI and other organizations to really figure out which are these technologies which would be climate smart and also help the smallholder farmer in improving his livelihood or income. And I think over the past several years, what we have done is basically we have been working with the National Rural Livelihood Mission in India, which is an ambitious program to improve the livelihoods of smallholder farmers. And we have been using technologies which are relevant to the local environment, where the input costs are as minimal as possible. We've been focusing more on using local resources to develop, biomicrobicides and fertilizers. We're trying to restore the local biology of the soil so that the plants are able to get more and more nutrition from the soil. And we call it CMSA, Community Managed Sustainable Agriculture. And we're working in 9 states in the country with major focus in Bihar and AP. And I can say with a lot of confidence that this has really helped to reduce the input cost to the farmers. In fact, we also have a concept of zero budget natural farming, which doesn't really require much of chemical-based fertilizers. Also, some of the production technologies that we disseminate are pretty smart, and we have found that the production is actually at times, particularly in groundnuts, we've found in AP, it's double than what it is in areas where chemical fertilizers have been used. So we have been promoting not just the natural farming, but areas where they're relevant, we're promoting them, and we have found them to be very impactful. The other thing that we've been trying to do is basically how do we improve the income of the smallholder farmer. And one of the things which was mentioned in the morning as well was how do we connect the smallholder farmers with the market using technology. So what we've been trying to do is to basically develop, we have done this pilot again in Bihar, and we've found when we aggregate smallholder farmers to an aggregator and use technology to basically help aggregate and transport these produce to the local market with, it's all mostly technology based. My colleague in the afternoon is going to make a presentation on this, so I don't want to dwell on that. But I just want to mention that over the last 8 months or so, the pilot that we have done, we have generated a business of about $2 million amongst about 6,000 and 7,000 farmers using these technologies, and we've also been trying to see if we can make these payments available to the farmers through digital platforms. And it has received a lot of traction, and those of you who would be here in the afternoon will be able to see a video on this. And so we are basically using different kinds of information technology. These are just two, but we keep innovating and looking at new areas of work and reaching out to the farmers. In terms of reaching out and the farmers, we have reached almost 1.5 million farmers across different states in India. 90% of them are women, and we've found that the adoption rate is almost about 65% of the farmers who have seen these, and we use community-based videos to reach these farmers. So I'll probably stop here.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Wouter Verheij. I'm the agricultural counselor within the Netherlands Embassy. I must say it feels a little bit uncomfortable here to be here as coming from an embassy, sitting with so many experts and scientists in a panel. But I think the topic of today is excellent chosen. I would like to congratulate the NSFI for organizing this event. I will not focus too much on agriculture in the Netherlands, as that was already done this morning in the first session by Mr. Singlau. I would like to thank him for that. India is amongst those countries, those hotspots in the world where climate change might hit relatively hard. Recently there was also a study from the OECD on the land-water energy nexus, which mentioned India as a country where climate change could have severely impact. At the same time, of course, we talk about innovations, we talk about new developments, we make more and more use of geodata. Precision farming, of course, is coming up all over the world. We have urban farming. Next month we will organize in Mumbai an event on vertical farming, which is a new development where you produce without the use of any soil or everything under control inside the building. But I think these kind of developments, of course, they are good that they happen. It is important for the world development of agriculture and as an answer to climate change. But at the same time, I feel that there's still a lot can be done with the present technology. If I look at for instance, the Indian situation, the water productivity could still be much higher with present technology. In horticulture, Netherlands is good in horticulture. I think the productivity can go up enormously with the present technology in animal husbandry, in dairy. Why is it that the Gear breed in Brazil produces 20 liters per cow, and here it is so much lower? There is still a lot to gain, but it has to be brought to the farmer. And how do you bring it to the farmer? Well, first of all, I think you should always have a chain approach. You should not focus on one thing. You should focus on the whole chain. You can present a new technology to a farmer, but he must also be able to sell this better product in the market. So you have to do it in cooperation with others. You cannot just intervene in one part of the chain. So a chain approach, I think, is very important, and see the farmer as an entrepreneur who can make the right decisions if you give him the tools. So, so I think with the present technology, still big steps can be set, but there is a kind of mind change needed, and we have to look at the farmer in a different way. Yeah, I think I will leave it to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we are at the end of this panel session. As far as the discussion is concerned, I am really thankful to all panelists, and they have done a good job. And as far as in conclusion, I can say the main things which is coming out of our deliberation is that at least we should create a right type of awareness amongst all our farmers and policy maker. Even we are supposed to awaken the policy maker for this job. That is the thing which is coming out. Our Dr. Anthony has mentioned that there is a need of a sensible policy, and definitely in case if we'll have there is a good scope for broadening our scope of work, and let us bridge the gap between demand and supply, because technology is available. Every panelist has suggested that lot of technologies are available which has got a direct bearing as far as the mitigation of climate change is concerned, but things are not visible at the doorsteps of the farmers. So that's why we are supposed to bridge this gap, and at the same time there is a need to have a right type of collaboration and cooperation. That is a need of our, and in case if we'll collectively if we'll do this some work, definitely we will be in the position. And 4 keys were really, these were quite attractive 4 key words which Dr. Patrick has mentioned, that let us have a right type of information dissemination and innovation. Let us try to articulate the new innovation, because number of places lot of innovation has been carried out, but things is that how to compile them and how to make them visible across our country. And same thing is that let us encourage the learning new ways, and let us have something for the insurance for the to cope up with this thing, because there is a need to have right type of documentation. There is a need to discuss some new ways and means for dissemination, because it is when we are saying that a technology is available but it is not visible at the farmer front, so it means that a new technology has to be kept in the views. A very good suggestion came into the picture that in case you will trapped post harvest losses, to certain extent we will be in the position to do some changes as far as our overall production and productivity is concerned, because production and productivity should be linked with their profitability. That is a basic idea. So that's why we are supposed to have this thing that and at last a very good things which is coming out. I would like to appreciate Mr. Vinay Kumarji. He has given the concept of a zero budgeting natural farming. Perhaps this is the thing, because precision agriculture and conservation agriculture, lot of people are working, but now there is a need to have a natural farming as well. Organic farming people are talking from a different platform, but natural farming to certain extent, this will be one way to come up with, to get rid of this problem. I am really thankful to all of you, and I think the time is short, so we will not entertain any question at this moment. And thank you very much to all our respected panelists. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. And may I request Dr. Sai Krishna on behalf of NSFI to kindly present the mementos. We present to our chairperson and moderator, Dr. Narendra Singh Rathore, to Dr. Anthony Whitbread, to Dr. Anthony, to Dr. Patrick, to Mr. Sagar Kaushik, to Mr. Vinay Kumar, and to Mr. Wouter Wahi. Thank you, Dr. Sai, for doing the honors. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we close the proceedings of our plenary session.